Hello, welcome back to the ministry. This is Taj McCameron. I got 3 words for y'all, and yeah, this is gonna be deep. They may not all come out on the same day, but this is gonna be deep. Starting with this word. This is what you could consider to be the Shunimite Part 3. Because the Lord brought me a revelation. Now, remember in me telling you the Shunimite Man Part 2 that your spouse went through that 7 years of not having the ability to do what he wanted to do, but he was in his wilderness. The Lord gave me a revelation when I was listening to somebody talk about the scripture on Laban and how Laban manipulated Jacob. Okay. Now, Laban, remember, Laban was Rebecca's brother. Okay. Now, some of you, your spouse was in a Shunimite man position, right? We already went through the fact that your spouse was a Shunimite man. He got the career, he went through whatever it was that the Lord had him go through, but it looked for a season like that thing died. He went back to the Lord and God resuscitated it. But in him coming back to God, God had to rework him. What did the Shunamite woman have to do? Go to a dry place, go to a place wherever God showed him and stay there until he was allowed to come back. Some of your spouses, they were removed from places that they had been for years, put in another place. They had to learn again what it was that God was trying to teach them in order for them to go through, but they had to go through a wilderness. In this season, God put them in a scenario much like Jacob and Rachel. Remember, Jacob not only had to do one 7-year stint, he had to do a second 7-year stint. I need you to look at your spouse that when he came to the Lord again, that God put him in the wilderness, and his wilderness looked like the second rotation of Jacob's. Confusion, okay? The confusion that Jacob had to deal with Laban. Laban was playing games. There were people in your spouse's life that were playing games and manipulating. Every time they thought they were going left, they would sit up there and say, oh no, you're not going left, you're going right. Because the enemy knew that he had to keep your spouse in a rotation, revolving. And I got confirmation from this yesterday when I was sitting with the Lord. He showed me through something that this is exactly what was happening. Your spouse is frustrated because he would have had left that situation. And I'm being reminded of something else. This showing the same exact thing, that your spouse would have left that situation and been left that situation if certain circumstances that were purposely put into place to keep them held up where they were. People, scenarios, an obligation, a responsibility. Could you do this for me? Oh, I know that you have the ability. Can you please? Can you please? Can you please? Can you please? And see, when your spouse doesn't have the wisdom to understand that it's a spirit, it's not the individual so much asking them for a favor. It's the fact that this spirit recognizes I need to use this person, this person, this person, this person, whoever I can use that's going to ask a favor. And that because that this person is more willing to, oh, it's not that person. Because remember how the enemy works. Satan will take a person that you have recognized this person is operating under this spirit. I can't use this person against them no more because they are no longer going to pay attention to this person. But remember, Jesse had apophenia. You get away from Jesse, You think apathy, air godliness, no God in their heart. These individuals, they got open doors. Because these individuals have open doors, they'll be the ones that'll come, can you do me a favor? Can you? And because it's not that person, they're like, okay, I'll do it because it's you. And God used a hole in them. Even if the enemy used a hole in them, even if it was for a brief moment. Because just like God can have a man's heart turns toward him, the enemy can use a hole in a man's heart to turn them to use in that moment against your spouse. My glasses is a little bit dirty on my end. So use them to give a hole. And because of that one hole, your spouse is like, well, because it's you, I'll do it. And another person, because it's you, I'll do it. Oh, I need you to do this. But okay, I'll help you with that. Well, I do need help with that. And they keep getting rotated. I remember the video I did a while back where a friend of mine had called me. It was a friend of mine. Turned around, called me at a particular point in time. And I sat there and I talked to this individual. The person only wanted to talk to me during a time frame that this other person was doing an important mentorial broadcast. And then the person ended up deleting the broadcast. So I missed everything. So I couldn't even go back and listen to it. Okay. Why? Because it was a distraction. These individuals were being used to distract your spouse during that season to keep them away from you. I hope you're making the understanding. So the closer your spouse got to you, the more confusion the enemy would bring. Go back to my word and go look up the playlist for deja vu. When your spouse figures out, wait a minute, y'all lying. The famous scene in Deja Vu when he takes the pointer. If you ain't seen the movie, it's a really good movie. But for this purpose of the Kingdom Marriage, listen to the review first and then go watch the movie. It all makes sense when you put it all together for the movie Deja Vu. But the fact of the matter is that the Labans in your God-ordained spouse, the people that were around him, and some of your spouses were in some very deep waters with some deep people that was involved in some deep mess, that even in them being associated with these folks, that when in them just being in their atmosphere, they could get blackmail, they could get this, they could get that, they could what have you. And you might have looked at it as, no, they might not. You've had people in your life that you were sitting up there talking about, oh, they wouldn't do that to me. They wouldn't. And then God turned around and gave you a dream or a vision or understanding. It's like, that's the one that was doing it. That was the one. That's the one I told you needed to let go. But he's not. Those people. Because they wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. I will always pray over my kingdom spouse. Please give him words of knowledge, wisdom, clarity, and understanding so that he will have the fullness of the understanding of what he needs to go, what he needs to do, who he needs to let go of, and stop being stalled. These Labans that the enemy was using because, okay, he got past that person. Let me add this person. Okay, let this person ask him a question. Okay, let this person ask him to do something. Let this person ask him to do something. Because you got to understand it's a spirit. How many times I told y'all, go watch Denzel Washington's The Fallen. I did a quick review on it. Don't remember what the name of that video was. I'm going to have to go back and look. It was a 5-part video. I was talking about Babylon, the breakdown of Babylon. But in the movie The Fallen, the spirit would jump from one person to the next. When the enemy realized he can't use this person no more, he jumps to the next closest person that this person is confiding in. I see it happen even with my mentors. Anybody that I respect to a certain degree, that if I cut off one, I lie to you not, I cut off one, that I recognize that person's dealing with this spirit. The next person that I respect usually ends up operating in the same spirit. To the next one, to the next one. Every single time. Why? Because it's a spirit. The spirit jumps. And the enemy knows If I can't use this person no more because she done cut that one off, I need to use the next person. Same thing happened to your spouses. Am I making sense to you? So with that being said, they attempted to keep your spouse in a trap of keeping them rotating around. It may not have been the same person. It was multiple different people trying to keep them caught up in this. But what happened with Laban and Jacob? Jacob ended up finally one day he was going to have to jump off and run. Some of your spouses got to a point. If they haven't gotten there yet, they're going to get there. Trust and Obedience talked about a video. She did 2 videos. She did a video talking about the number 2244, or it was 4422. I can't remember. Look it up either way. And then one of her more recent videos talking about they had to flee swiftly or something like that. That your spouse is going to have to leave abruptly. And recently, one of my mentors, she just did a video on Instagram. I went back and looked at it, and it now makes sense to me that what it is that they have to leave. They have to go. They're going to have to walk away from that situation, because as long as they stay in it, that spirit going to keep rotating them around in the same thing. The ties have already been cut, but they need to make the decision to go. So it's that moment that the enemy, and what the enemy has attempted to do, the enemy recognizes they're going to go. They will move. They are going to get to that point of frustration. Look, confirmation. They're going to get to that point and they're going to just jump and leave. So what the enemy has tried to do is, before they left, to try to set them up in, remember my word, accusation, insinuation, intimidation, blackmail, extortion. They try to do everything. I've been seeing Potiphar's wife accuses Joseph. If they can't get it, and this was further confirmed by something I saw Harder Roof do. I don't know whether it's an old word or something recent, because words from her pop up all the time on my feed. And recently, this particular word had popped up, and it literally was saying that when this person can't get what they want, they're going to try to accuse that person, because they already know that they're not going to fall for it. If they recognize you're not going to fall for it, and they recognize they won't fall for it, they will try to accuse them of something. Their goal, trying to trap them in that season. Some of your spouses, they supposed to be at that moment in the Shunimite woman where they're supposed to reach the king's castle or your space or whatever the moment of anointment will be, so that they can get their assets and everything come back to them. But they going to have to flee to do it, because the people that are there ain't going to let them just walk away from that situation. They're going to keep them in a rotation. Now, the ties have been cut. Now they just have to walk away. When your soul ties have been cut, the strings have been cut, but you can't see that they've been cut. All you got to do is move. The catch be that the enemy tries to keep you in false evidence that appears real by keeping what? Accusation, insinuation, frustration, all these kinds of things coming up, so that you're sitting up there like, oh my God, I got to stay here. Oh my God, I can't leave here. Oh my God, I can't. And God's saying, I need you to see that the tie has already been cut. It was already cut. I already did it. You just walk. You just run. You just leave. Yeah, they're going to be mad. Of course they're going to be mad. But go. Laban was angry that Jacob left. Jacob carried the favor. Your spouse carries favor for some of these people that's been using him all this time. That's why they kept him in rotations. Do this for me. Do this for me. Do this for me. Use it. And then when he finally figured it out, they were like, oh, okay. That's not working no more. I got to go. So, with that being said, your spouse came into that realization that he was going to have to leave that situation. Now, because of this, I'm going to give you a minor preview of another word that I'm about to do, because I got a couple of minutes on this, is that what ended up happening, coming back to the Potiphar's wife situation, that the enemy attempted to pull a Potiphar's wife, using the counterfeit to try to trap them in a situation in whatever capacity. So with that, the scenario was meant to use witchcraft in order to hold them in place. Okay? So the witchcraft was meant to hold them in place, and as a last ditch effort to maintain the hold. But God cut that too. Ain't no way around it. This man gonna have to walk. He either is going to have to choose to walk with his own 2 feet, or God's going to do a ushering. And he's going to use a wind of change to push this man out of that situation so hard. And if anybody that has ever been pushed out of a situation by God, you will understand with the fullness of understanding that he pushes you in a way that you do not like out of that situation. And once you are pushed out, oh, honey, it is vicious when they push you out. Either they push you out or the situation causes for you to have to run out. Either way, out is going to happen. They're going to come out. But this is what you need to get ready for. When they choose to come out and they are rushed out, guess what? You got to be ready and prepared, because when they come to you, they're going to be like, we got to go. Wheels up. Got to go. Time to run. We ain't got time. They're going to be presentable, but they're going to be like, it's an urgency to this, but we got to go. So, that is pretty much the end of this word, and I'm going to come back for the next one.